Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Above the Bar podcast, where each week we belly up to the bar with a new guest, find out what they do, who they are, and what makes them great. So sit back, relax, and enjoy. Alrighty, folks, welcome back to the Above the Bar podcast. It's your host, Sean. We've bellied up to the bar here on June 11th. We are talking, we've brought in a ruggedly handsome gentleman who's not an antique, but he is an Ateeq. And he's going to be talking to us about data analytics. What is the value of data analytics? How do we, deal with this? What's the value to us as small businesses? All those kind of things. So joining us from the capital region of New York, it's Mr. Ateeq Ahmad. Hello, Ateeq. How are you?
Hello.
I'm trying to, they've changed something in one of my algorithms here, and it's really kind of upsetting me because I used to be able to switch for my podcast that I could share everything very easily. And for whatever that I could share everything. I can no longer change the settings from personal to share it with people, and it's driving me absolutely nuts. And I'm apologizing now, so I'll have to figure out how I'm gonna share this one because it really, really has upset me. So moving on. So Ateeq and I are going to be talking about small business data analytics, different options. The biggest thing that I hope we can get out of this is how as small businesses can we use this data, and also how as small businesses can we decipher what data really matters to us, because I think sometimes it's overwhelming. But before we get into that, as always, folks, over my right shoulder, we got the big board here for Sticker and a Cause. If you've got something you're supporting, something you believe in, whatever your thing is, and you want other people to know about, oh, look at that. Karen has already joined us on Instagram, the virtual copywriter. Hello, Karen. I think it froze on her side. Let's see. Karen, did it freeze on your side? I think it did. This is great. I love technology. I love it, Ateeq. I love technology like a sharp stick in the eye. Well, I guess she can hear us. My screen's not moving because she just said hello. But as I always like to say, so back to this woosah. Have a woosah moment for a second. But we're talking about the big board over my right shoulder for Sticker and a Cause. If you got something you believe in, something you're supporting, I don't care if it's a band, a job, whatever it is, you can reach out to me on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Our website is the Above the Bar Podcast. .com, and our email is the Above the Bar Podcast at gmail.com. Let me know what you're talking about. I'll tell you where to send the sticker at, and then we'll read about it. Justin has joined us. If you're a big fan of 98 Rock in Baltimore, Justin's down there and getting his stand-up career going. He's a big radio DJ down there. So make sure you reach out to us. Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, all those different locations. You can always find me. It's the Above the Bar Podcast. But we also have to talk about the people that pay the bills around here, and that's Budget Blinds. And that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Hudson and Cooksaki and Schoharie. They are don't have cats, Ateeq. They are North America's largest window treatment company. They do everything from shades, shutters, blinds, drapery, everything custom, everything motorized. They even have ones that you can talk to through your smart devices and tell it that you want it to open and close or what time of the year that you want it moving, and it can do all those different things. And right now, their sale for the next month is 20% off of all window treatments, another 5% off if you motorize it. And as always, if you tell them that you're there to belly up to the bar, they're going to give you another 5% off of that. And again, that's Budget Blinds of East Greenbush, Budget Blinds of Hudson and Cooksaki, and Budget Blinds of Schoharie. All right, Ateeq, it is all done.
Perfect.
How are you?
I am very fine. Thank you. Like I said, it's my first time on a podcast, so I'm really excited.
This is your burgeoning podcast career.
There we go.
Burgeoning. Am I saying it right? Is that the right way?
Exactly. I think so.
we're going to go with it for today because I don't know if that's right or wrong. But so we're here to talk about the data analytics side to this. So uh, going back, looking at my notes here, how many years have you been involved with data analytics in the Google Analytics world?
Oh, what a great question. I think if I were to count the actual years, it would be about 10 or 11.
Okay,
But that's just with this tool. What happened was way back 1998, 97, 98, when, as you know, websites were just sort of trying to figure out how to do HTTPS, right? Secure and so on. Um, People figured out a way that there was a, and not to get too technical, but there's the web servers have make calls. They make calls when they
okay,
get the information for pages. So people figured out a way to just isolate those web calls and make them into tables. Like, this page was called, this page was called, this page was called. Then people started to accumulate that data, started to put in, user specific information. Very soon, you remember Google. I don't know if you remember Google Ads launched like 2002, 2003.
vaguely,
A
yes.
pretty big deal. And to set up any advertising and so on, you had to prove that you had some traffic on your site in the start, right? So you could get part of the Google AdSense network.
Okay,
And so therefore people started to say, well, you know what, look at how many calls to my website, That's where it all started. And very quickly, Sean, it burgeoned. We're using that word,
we're going to use that.
burgeon. Yeah. It burgeoned into a whole industry. There were all kinds of companies that came in. Google, as is usual, bought a company, bought one. In 2008, they bought Urchin, which was actually a Brazilian startup, if you could
Oh,
believe that. Yeah. And I hope I'm remembering this right, because 2008 is 17 years ago.
don't say that. I don't even want to hear that. God, I don't even want to think about that.
So yeah, so ever since then they have started investing heavily in it. It makes a great sense for them because if people
Oh yeah,
use that tool and use that tool in concert with Google Ads, well, they make money
right.
straight up. Okay. And they're able to target people better and so on. Now, you know how they say if something is for free, then you are the product. Yeah.
Yes, I would agree with that.
Yeah,
Yes.
so this way, now we are all, in a sense, walking data manufactories because we do so much on the web. Look at us now. We're interacting. There
Oh
is
yeah.
somewhere or the other that a cookie is being dropped on us, not one, but several, right?
Okay.
And so we're being tracked. Now, where do people like me sit in is we help small businesses, or even sometimes when I get lucky, medium businesses too, try to figure out what, like you asked, what is important? Why should I why should I put up this code which is effectively going to track not only me but my customers as well? What am I getting out of it without compromising their privacy? Because that's an important thing that we have not considered, Sean, for a long while as
Oh
marketers.
no.
And
Yes,
we should have, right off the bat. We should have always asked for permission, right?
I would
But
agree.
now we're being forced to, which is a good thing, I think. The GDPR protocol that Europe has come up with, these are a set of privacy laws. Okay.
Okay.
So in Europe, Sean, if you go to a website, and I do that setup, by the way, if you go to a website, nothing fires unless you give consent.
But don't they bury that a lot? Like are they bad as because I know we see that more now here
Hmm.
Asia, but I see that more now. And I don't know if you know Darcy Knapp or not. Um,
I know Darcy Knapp. I have an acquaintance. Yes,
yeah,
yes, yes.
Darcy and I are close, and she manages my Google ads,
Hmm.
and that's one of the things she was like, never hit accept all, never hit
Yes.
accept all.
Yes, and that is the thing, Sean, that we have educated other people as well onto. never hit accept all, right? Now, in the background, though, because look, with some people, browsers are important, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
therefore, so Google Chrome, my goodness, everything is built on Chromium, their platform underneath, right? But for Apple, browser is not that important. They have other, well, the browser makes the money, okay? Google
Right.
gives them 4 billion to be part of the default search. Thank you very much.
Really?
However, yeah, man, yeah. Every year. This is not like a one payment.
I
Okay.
had no idea.
Oh yeah, yeah. If you search on Safari, your default search engine is Google.
I didn't. Yeah. Now that you say that, now, yeah,
Mm.
I realize it now. That you say it, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, that makes sense.
But Safari and Apple figured out, you know what? We should start to get not at least ahead of the curve, but at least with the curve, because there are all these data privacy laws. So we're not going to allow Facebook to automatically track people.
Okay.
They started it, right? Now everybody, because we want to do, I don't know if I should say this, but we also want, everybody wants to do virtue signaling. Apart from being virtuous, we
Okay.
want to do that, yeah?
Right.
So Chrome came up and said, yeah, we will be nice as well. So I'm here to tell you that they're starting to be.
What do you mean?
Meaning to say, if you now say allow, okay, if you now say allow, there's still some barriers.
Okay.
Your Chrome, if you notice your browser, sometimes it's got this eye with a cross out thing.
I'm looking now
And
at my browser
yeah,
to see. I don't see it, but go ahead.
but if you go to a website multiple times, that goes away. But there are privacy settings within Chrome. Doesn't allow cookies to fire automatically a lot.
Okay.
But the critical part is I went and looked at a website which is basically called GDPR fines. Okay, so Europe is actively fining people who are burying this. Yeah, and
Oh wow.
and Sean, these fines are not like, okay, a couple of bucks, or meaning to say a couple of million here and there. We're talking multiples of millions of dollars.
Oh wow.
So now suddenly you understand, if you're doing any business in Europe, you're getting on that bandwagon.
Yeah, you're jumping right on and paying
You're,
attention.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Plus, if you're a merchant in the US and you do only a little bit of business in Europe, look, man, I want to be conservative. I'm going to put the same protocol here as well.
Hmm.
So when you do that reject now, my job and all our analysts' job is to make sure nothing fires. And if you accept, our job is to make sure only 7 things fire. We're not always successful. I'll tell you right off the bat, because um, Facebook, if you go to any website and order something, right, and if they have Facebook hooked up, Facebook tracking, Facebook wants everything, Sean. They want to your customer's first name, last name, email address, birthday, phone. Oh my God, I don't want to send this.
Right. No, they
So
are very heavy.
yeah. So I advise my clients, look, the cookie, the Facebook cookie already knows me or the customer. All they're using this data to do is better matches. Okay. These are algorithms. They're not, I would say, they're only malicious if you allow them to be. And yes, sometimes we have, right? But why take the risk? So don't send all this other data
Not
if
needed.
not needed. Only if you have to, because now, because of these privacy things, this is very interesting. Google, on the one hand, says, I'm not going to collect your data unnecessarily. On the other, if you give permission, I will collect your email and phone number if you give it to them. So it's kind of interesting that on the one hand, you're saying, I'll ask permission, but if you give permission, what I used to do before, I'm going to do a little bit more so that I can recognize you by your email, not only your cookie.
Hmm.
So there are a lot of weeds here, but
Interesting. I had no
but
idea.
oh yeah, but I mean, I'm just, over the last 8 years as I've built up this consulting, I have recognized that a lot of a lot of this stuff exists, right?
Right.
Plus, I've also tried to navigate my clients around it, right? So, of course, you collect some information, but please set up a banner. If see, here's the other thing, Sean. If you have a banner, or if my website has a banner, this is something that I'm trying to sell to people, and not really that effective just yet, but I'm trying. What I'm saying is, look, if you have a banner, you're effectively stating to the customer, look, if you say no, I'm not collecting it. And if you're truly doing it, which is easily found out, right? Then you are automatically building trust that otherwise you are not building. Because if you don't have a banner, you're collecting everything. The customer knows you're collecting everything. You go to other websites, you see that same products come here, there, everywhere, right?
Right.
That's and so if you allow people to choose, they're more often than not going to choose. I noticed this: 70% of people, and this is not a secret, actually accept the banner.
Mhm.
Right?
They just
It's
see
not a
accept
secret.
all. They see accept
That's
all.
right.
They hit it. They're
Mhm.
like, I just want this thing out of my face.
Yeah, out of my face.
Or what's the other one? Because I've started to see this now. It's
Hmm.
either accept all or they're making you go through
Yes.
the individual, which,
Right.
like most of us, we have goldfish attention spans. Sitting there and trying to click all those things off, we don't want to do it. I just got what's the new one? It just came through on Facebook the other day,
Hmm.
maybe a couple weeks ago, and I don't, maybe that's what you were discussing, where my wife and I had to go through our Facebook, and it was
Hmm.
like 140 some different sites that I had to tell them, no, you can't have my information.
Oh, are they? I do not know this. Are they actually um, telling you where they're who's
Yeah,
collecting your information? Well,
yeah,
that's very good. They should tell you that,
it
and
was like
you should
all
have
these
the
ones.
ability. Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
we went through each one and
Right.
my wife was I was like, "This is a pain in the butt." And my wife was
Yeah.
like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And I told her, she's like, "Well, I haven't seen that." And as soon as she logged in, it did the same thing to her. It was like, "Hey, you gonna give everybody permission or are you gonna reject
Yeah.
them?" I was like, "Go," because Darcy had just told it to me. She was like, "Start rejecting them." So
Mhm.
so I want to kind of go back here. So I mean, for small businesses, and for those of you that are just joining us, if you have any questions or you want to know what Ateek's got going on, check out albanyanalytics.com. You can find Ateek. If you have a small business, or maybe you're just curious about how your data is being collected and used right now, drop a question in the comments there. And please, as always, give us a like, share, comment, all those kind of things. So going back here for a minute, though, one of the things you and I kind of wanted to discuss on this was, I think as a small business owner, we get everybody tells us, "Oh, you need to know your data. You need to know your data. You need to know your data." But the other side to it is what Google has done an amazing job of doing is collecting way more data than you could ever use. So, how do you work with small businesses to help them to kind of figure out where whether they need the word happy or they need the word glad? Like, how do you get them to figure out what does show value to them?
Oh, this is such a great question, Sean. For very small businesses, this is something that you would have gotten if you talk to a hot dog stand. You talk to somebody like that, right? They know what their customers want. Why? Because they talk to them a lot. Okay. No data whatsoever can substitute for that. That's not, so those businesses who have high customer interaction, and we should all try that, but sometimes it doesn't happen, right?
Right.
So all those, they don't really need too much more information. And this will surprise you because I'm the guy who works with these
Right,
tools and saying,
like, I was
yeah,
waiting for I was like, "Wait a second, T, that's what you do for a living is you
I know, I
gather
know.
that data and analyze it and tell them,
Yeah,
'Hey, you,' again, back to you should say happy and stop saying glad. They like that
I
word
know.
better than this word." Like, that's your world.
Yeah,
Like,
but I would say those businesses know their customers better than any tool will because they know not only the what do our customers generally prefer on a Friday afternoon, as opposed to they also know this. They also know why. Because they talk to them.
The interactions there.
Yes, sir. So, what about other folks who are slightly, who really don't actually have a customer base that comes talks to them a lot, if you will, right? So there, for them, they have to surmise what is going on. Why is that happening? So people like me help them figure out what is happening. So where are people coming from to your website? A lot of times, a great Google My Business page with a review helps a lot.
Oh,
So people, yeah.
huge.
So people are coming in through there, and people who are coming through, say, Google Ads are less disposed to filling out a lead or making a purchase as opposed to somebody coming from a review. That kind of makes sense intuitively, right?
Oh yeah.
But there are other sources of information. So now, not now, but for the last 10, 12 years, there's all these social channels out there. So if the customer wants to know, you know what, I spent all this time posting on Facebook, is it of value? What is that giving me? So it is the job of us analysts, and implementation is done. We know where we can track where Facebook, what is Facebook traffic and when are they coming and what they're doing. Our job is then to look at that data and figure out, well, this is when they come, this is how they come, and this is what they mostly do at this point. So, amazingly, this is not, again, none of this is rocket science. Okay. Everybody with some intuition gets it. So, I had this customer, this client in Australia. They were auto insurance. Okay. Auto insurance for, customized cars,
Mm.
those very beautified cars and so on. So, they're doing a lot of Facebook advertising. Makes sense. Their return on investment, immediate return on investment is,
Zero. Oh,
yeah,
listen, I was about
makes
to
sense.
ask you about that when it came to Facebook ads. Is the Facebook ad dead?
Well, this is how we figured out a way to look at it. Because yes, if you look at immediate returns, it's dead because nobody fills out a lead.
Right.
But if you look at maybe, and this is what these tools can do, if you look at because you collect user level information. Remember how permission was given for the cookie to collect information?
Right.
That user cookie exists. And therefore, you can say, well, this user came through Facebook 4 months ago. Have they submitted a lead after that? So their cycle was
Oh,
about 90 days. So people come from Facebook, then they come from other sources, then they come and do their thing, right? Because we're not creatures of, we don't just use one thing. Sean, 5 thoughts in my mind happen at the same time. So imagine I'm going to look at 20 different websites before I do something, right?
I
So,
respect that.
yeah. And this is again one of the bigger challenges of people like me, analysts, is we get asked this question about you just ask a very pertinent question. Is Facebook ads dead? But now let's talk about for a particular client, right? That was a general question. For a particular client, it's more of, okay, what are all the people doing all the time? So people coming in through one source of traffic will come through another source of traffic, as in they did a Google search later, and the third time they just put it on their browser. Okay. So then it becomes direct traffic. So they directly came to you. Now you have to mix them up and figure out, well, which is of most value. So if you're spending money on Google Ads, you're saying, dude, I'm spending a lot of money in Google Ads. For me, that is most value, right? So makes sense, right?
Oh,
Somebody else, somebody doing that on social, then that. Now, if you mix them together, becomes a little bit more confusing. So you're spending money on Google Ads and Facebook. Are they feeding off each other? Are they not? How do we know? This is the bigger problem of our time as analysts, and we're still trying to figure it out. Haven't got the cookie cracked yet.
so that kind of staying with the same line of thinking that we're on
Hmm.
right now. like asking, hey, is this Facebook ad dead? Should you be on a TikTok from the data coming in? How many people that you experience haven't taken the time to create their marketing avatar to know whether or not, hey, my client isn't on Facebook in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? But you know what I mean by
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
avatar. I know you do. I don't need to explain it. And there, I'll make it real quick. For those of you who don't know what your marketing avatar is, every company nowadays has created an avatar based on some aspect of you in your life, where they've said that you are this, and then they build this whole profile of a made up person, and they give a name to them so that when they have meetings they can say, well, Steve doesn't like that much, Sue does, we can get Sue to purchase this way, but Steve, we have to find a new approach. Did I explain it right, Ateeq?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Some people call them persona as well. But you're right, avatar, persona, whatever you want to call it. Essentially, what you're doing is you're segmenting certain behaviors and, like you said, putting them together to create a person almost. Yeah. And to answer your question correctly, Sean, very few.
Why don't you think people do that? Like that for me in in my business, it is such a huge thing. And the other side of it is I can't have a conversation with you unless I have it. It's useless to me to have a conversation with you unless I know my avatar.
I can guess only. I think it's I think it's a question of there's also this that we have been told often that working with numbers or working with data is hard, right?
Math is
And
hard.
yes, and that is working very much against us if we, well, you have to, if you're collecting information, you have to look and analyze that information, right?
Right.
So I think a lot of that also has to do with, small business owners also, or even not only small business owners, people are pushed for time because they rarely have the time to come up with newer ideas. It's more like, here's my roster of tasks for today. Let me get those done, right? I have to build 30 Facebook ads. Okay. And I have these products that I'm selling. I am going to and I think we were going to talk about it, so I might as well do it. I am going to let my AI engine go crazy on this, create those ads, and fire them.
Yes.
And
Go ahead.
yeah.
I wanted to. This
Mhm,
falls right into the
mhm,
next question I was going to ask you.
mhm. And you can do that. Unfortunately, what is going on right now is, again, all these engines are being fed data that has been collected before. So while we tend to think, oh my goodness, this is so original, well, that engine is regurgitating somebody else's thoughts that have already been said. So your original is mostly just smashing atoms together and, you know, thinking, all right, this has not been done before.
Right.
And so that is a thing that us marketers have to either, we're told choose both, pardon me, choose both, be creative and learn hardcore data analysis. That doesn't necessarily jive. Businesses need to have two different people doing this work. A marketer, you need to let their creativity flow, and an analyst, you need to focus on analyzing the data to get that creative person good feedback. And it might sound really strange, but when there is a choice to make, go with the creative side.
Okay.
Because again, not human beings do things that sound logical, but they may come from an extremely irrational perspective. I don't mean it as a bad way.
Right.
We have so much happening in our brains that I would be absolutely surprised if the economic man, you know how the idea of a rational decision making man or
Right.
woman, if you will, I would be surprised if that applies in real life. I don't think it really does. So that's why I say, for very obvious things, we can tell you. We can look at the data, analyze it, and tell you. Like, for example, simple thing. 3 days ago, I saw a funnel of users going through a customer's website, right? They click and add to cart, they begin checkout, they do the other stuff and purchase. Okay, no problems. There was one slight problem that the client was saying, we changed this flow a little bit, and our conversion rate went down by, it was 2 percentage points. It went down to 1.5 percentage points. That's a very significant drop, you know?
Absolutely.
So then we go look at the data and we say, all right, okay, you know what? What you introduced was a step right after when somebody is ready to pay, they put their credit card, and then there's a confirmation page after that saying, are you okay with this purchase? If you do that, buyer's remorse kicks in before they have bought.
Okay.
Okay. So now, again, this I can tell you what is happening, right?
You can
And
see it. It's
then,
a tangible thing.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Um, Now, the idea of this whole buyer's remorse and so on isn't necessarily my idea. People have researched this before. Marketers have thought about this before, a lot actually. So, so you marry those two and you have a cogent explanation. They remove that step. But their, early indicators are that their conversion rate went back up.
Okay.
Okay. But again, these things are simpler to get for a small business to be able to understand their customers um, with some level of accuracy is always going to be hard. So the first thing you can do is, I always say these tools are quantitative data, right? So people come on your website, they do things, you measure that, fine. But often we do that, you and I do that.
Oh yeah.
We talk to our customers, right? We say, hey, you know what? Once in a while, we just send them an email saying, hello, how you doing?
Hope things are
Um,
going well. If you need me, give me a call.
yeah, yeah. Or, things like, hey, I have a client who sells um, organic supplements for dogs. They, you know, that's a business, right?
Hey, hey, hey,
Make
look,
it work.
I've learned since COVID, everything's a business.
Everything's a business. Now, he is an incredibly good writer, incredibly good. He's
Okay.
got so when he sends out an email, oh my goodness, it just generates massive amounts of revenue.
Wow.
So like a person who's a numbers person says to him, that is me, says to him, and this is one of the things I learned, right? You make mistakes, you learn. I said to him, look, sir, you send one email a week, make them two, make them two, right?
Yeah.
You are such a good writer, make them two.
Right.
And he says, no.
Now I
He
say
says,
no.
no. He says, no, because I want to write something I feel, I truly feel. If you
Okay.
have
So
me
it's more
write,
just saturated.
yes, sir. So, he has an instinctive understanding of his customer. Then I push him. I said, no, man, if you don't experiment, how do you know?
True.
Yeah. So he did it. And it was not a bad email at all. But you could see that it had the same kind of response. It was he had a letter to his customers type of an email. Okay.
Okay.
Uh, and he cared about dogs, and he sort of, said, you don't feed them this stuff. You feed them this. You feed them natural. I have this place which has natural herbs and so on that help them with the diarrhea and other things. Okay, so it comes through naturally to him. That email didn't really look very natural, first of all, but it had the same response rates of the sale emails. So, like Valentine's Day for your dog, 15% off, that kind of thing, right? Same response rate. So, you
No,
know,
Ateeq, I got to tell you, please keep going
mhm,
because this
mhm,
is absolute. And I don't know if anybody else finds this as fascinating. I do. If you want to know what Ateek's got going on, make sure you're checking out albanyanalytics.com. So with all these things, and you brought up something, and I'm curious from a data analysis standpoint, and
Uh-huh.
I'm going to tie AI into this for a second,
Uh-huh.
and you kind of
Please.
touched on it, where you were saying, everybody, all these different engines out there, they're eating off of the exact same fuel, which means the creativity side of the world is slowing down, because I just want to put in what I think, drop it in there to Chat GPT and let it spit out a cleaner version of it. That's our mindset now, but we're losing the creativity side. How does that affect your industry with Google Analytics and trying to communicate with customers? Like, how does that change things if we know that we're really all drinking out of the same dirty glass when it comes to the information?
Well, it pays for us, specifically for people like me, who's just a solo person working, to not say it like an engine would. So I did that today, right? I asked ChatGPT a question, a technical question. That's usually what I ask of it. I don't ask it to make my writing better, because it's okay to make, you know, grammatical errors as long as it's you.
Okay.
I, you know, I I'm I'm not saying spell something incorrectly. Spell check works, right?
Right.
But sometimes I put prepositions where I shouldn't necessarily, and sometimes a comma is missing. Okay,
It happens.
it happens. And that, but yeah, so I ask the technical questions. The responses I get back, sometimes they are very obviously, they're well written, they're tailored out, but they're very ambiguous, they're vague, they're designed to be vague.
Yes.
And in our business, you can't be vague. I can tell you with some confidence, with X amount of confidence, this is what's happening. Okay. But I cannot tell you maybe this is. What's
Yeah,
the
no, I
point of
don't
my
need me.
being? Yeah, I could be wrong. You know it. I know it that I could be wrong, but I'm basing it on certain assumptions that exist. First of all, the internet is, or anything in the world, is not a closed system.
No.
Okay. And there would be so many different influences so many things that might be happening that you're not taking into your assumptions. So you could be spectacularly wrong. But I think I over the last few years, I've learned that it's okay to be wrong as long as you admit that you were wrong based on what you were assuming.
Okay, I can see that.
You
I can
know,
see that. Yeah.
because if I'm not telling you my assumptions, Sean, and I'm wrong, then I'm just not even doing my job. I'm going to tell you, look, this is what I'm assuming, and based on that, this is what I think is happening. But then I am out there, right?
Right.
These engines are programmed, I think, in a sense, to look at all this information and come up with a plausible something, but that's going to be such a sort of a generic gobbledygook that it's not helpful. I have seen, and it sucks, but you can see it, Sean, a mile away. You can see it. If somebody makes a blog with using AI, you can recognize it a mile away.
Oh yeah. The language is right there. The
So
language is
yeah.
100% there.
So if we're doing some analysis, we're not we're not using the engines to write about what we're thinking. We might be using them to do the analysis. So for example, if I have a lot of data, I say to it, you know what, go find me the correlation coefficient between these two different uh, dimensions. Oh, sorry, metrics, my apologies. And there you go. But I'm not going to ask it to write out the analysis for me. And that's what, unfortunately, we are being sold. So this is a position that I think I'm going out on a limb, but it's okay. I
Controversial, a
feel
little
confident.
controversial.
Yeah, yeah, yes, sir. I think, contrary to popular opinion, in the next few years, even as little as five, writers will be worth their weight in gold.
Okay. Now, what are your thoughts there? Because I kind of
Because
think I understand what you're saying, but go ahead.
because the originality of a, say, Somerset Maugham or a Hardy or I mean or any, any great author, right? Stephen King. Good Lord, you're not getting this out of these engines.
No.
You can get them to write like Stephen King, sure, but is that where it's going to be? No. We are very choosy as human beings, boss. We don't we let artists starve to death before we recognize their work. So
But what's curious to me is though is the AI customer. Do you know what I'm talking about? Like where
Mhm.
some of these companies are using that AI customer coming in. Like is Google like because we were and folks, if you don't know, Ateek and I are on a call together pretty much every Wednesday. Very very few that he misses and I miss, and we have a lot of these conversations. But how much of like the AI stuff that's coming in, like does Google have its own AI yet?
they do. They do. And a few times it is helpful. Okay. And it is helpful to the extent of detecting anomalies.
Okay.
Okay. They have within GA4, they have an anomaly detection tool. You have to turn it on and and it tells you, oh, something went off on this page, or something went off with this kind of traffic coming to your site, which is good. Doesn't tell you why.
Hmm.
That's for you to figure out. But some bits, like I said, the AI is obviously useful. I mean, I use it every day to write scripts and so on. But for that to be autonomous is such a stretch, such a stretch.
So
But
so you,
people say no. So I'm saying, okay, I will stay with my position for now.
I wish I could remember the guest's name, but I literally
Mhm.
had the guy on who wrote the book on AI,
Oh, wow.
and I'll have to go back through because I can't remember his name. You know what? Hold on a sec, because this is the great thing about me because I use the same links. It was
Oh,
Doctor
wonderful.
John Wiggins. I'm almost sure it was him because Doctor John Wiggins AI. I think that was him. Uh, yeah, adjunct professor at Wright University. Yeah, that's him. So I'm almost sure this is the right guy. But him and I just, I think that was the one.
Hmm.
Dude, this just so you know, Ateek, this is episode 290.
Wow, congratulations.
So
Very
you get
nice.
to be on 290. Uh,
290.
so you're on 290. But yeah, we discussed this, and he was the I didn't understand, and you kind of mentioned it this morning. Most people just say, well, AI is dangerous. And they don't realize there's AI, AGI, and ASI. We're probably, in my opinion, and I had somebody else say it, we're further off than I believe, but I think we're 5 years from AGI. And I think,
Artificial general intelligence, you mean?
yes, artificial general intelligence,
Mhm.
which can operate. And if you don't know this, folks, AGI can operate similar to a person. It I don't know if it can make decisions, but it pretty much operates like a person. ASI, artificial superior intelligence, that's Skynet. That's get your shit together. We don't know what we either are going to end up with Skynet or the Thunderhead. And if you know the two different books, those references make sense to you. Um, do you know the Thunderhead, Ateek?
I don't know the Thunderhead, but
Oh, you the
Skynet
Thunder.
I do.
The Thunderhead I'll tell you about here in a minute, but before I can tell Ateek about the Thunderhead, because we are surprised, like this happens every time. We are so close to closing up the bar, so we got to have our New Scotland's last call. Discover the spirit of the Highlands right here in New York at New Scotland Spirits, where more than just whiskey makers, we're storytellers, distillers of heritage, and champions of locally grown grain. Every bottle is handcrafted, bold, and unapologetically New York. Whether you're sipping, gifting, or stocking your bar, make it something memorable. Choose New Scotland Spirits. Visit newscotlandspirits.com and taste the tradition. New Scotland Spirits, distilled with pride, enjoyed with purpose. But yeah, so the Thunderhead is from a set of books that my son introduced me to called The Scythe, and it's a whole
Okay.
series of books. But in their world, AI did not become this evil thing that enslaves humanity. Um, in their world, AI realized that its job was to protect humanity, and to do so, it should do things like, hey, I understand I could do everything for people, but people need purpose. So I will find the perfect job for them and let them have the perfect job. Certain parts of the world, hey, I can you can live in this area, and if you want to have augmentations of wings, I can help you to do that. But we're only going to do this in this part of the world. You can't do it everywhere. But it also created nanobots that can heal anything. So no one dies. And when this happens, you end up with a group of people called the Scythe, which were there to balance out this no one dies. Because the Scythe, just like and they gleam, it's called gleaming. And gleaming is removing people from the equation. And if a scythe kills someone, the Thunderhead will not bring them back because it was part of the process. And our friend Cody says, has this lovely human been on here before? I feel like I've seen him before and his good spirit. Cody, this is Ateeq. He has never been on, but you absolutely have picked someone that probably has snuck into your dreams before because he told a story this morning of one of our other peers, Steven and or Steve, that he was had him in a dream, and it was the most fascinating story about opium pirates. And like, I was like, wait a second, I know what those are. And I was like, wow, how many people know about, like, there used to be a FYI, folks, early US had a huge opium trade. Early US, we actually, there were some of like the most wealthy people in New York City. They made their money from opium. If no one told, I know they didn't tell us that in school, but Cody,
Mm-mm.
yes, you did find someone. Ateek is an absolutely wonderful person. So, so, so going back to the data, and you should read those books, Ateek. I think you would enjoy them. They're a little tweeny, but it's right there. And oh, look at this. Well, kindred spirits never feel like strangers. See that?
Thank you, Cody. Thank you very much. Very kind. Very
She
kind.
is the best that way. So, what are some of the advice you would give to, and I just want to focus on the small business side to it, but some of the advice that you would give to a small business if they were like, hey, either I'm looking for someone to manage my data analytics at my level, or, hey, maybe they have someone and they're concerned with, are they just taking my money? Are they really doing something? What's some advice you would give them?
Yeah, that's a hard part because a lot of small business money like ours is, you know, it's pretty small, pretty hard earned, you know? So what I generally recommend people to do is to have, a couple sessions with people. Don't Analysts like us should not be, I feel we should not be on retainers unless you're working for $1 million companies. There you're always engaged, there's stuff going on. For small businesses, I actively do not choose these sort of like retainer style engagements because i'm I'm like a plumber, Sean. You need me when you need me, otherwise you do not need me. So I want to be that plumber you could call and say, hey, you know what? Can I have half an hour of your time? I want to understand something. And that's the key part. As a small business owner, either you're the person making all the decisions or you're one of them who is making decisions. So nominate someone who will be the as you would have someone who's the creative or marketing head, nominate someone who's the analytics guy or who should understand data, and have them talk to the company who's doing your uh, analytics work, right? And most of our tools, this I agree with Sean, in a few. in a few months or even in a year, much of my work that I do on the implementation side should be automated.
Okay.
Okay. I want it to be because that's not where the real thinking is. We should be trying to engage with our customers in a way that makes, well, of course, makes us money, but makes them actually adds value to their lives.
Right.
Okay. But even small amounts is good. You feed somebody good ice cream, that adds value for a bit. Yeah, it makes sense. So, so I would say do not go into very large scale engagements if if you don't have the capital for it, because you'll feel and this is what I've learned over time, is that people will feel cheated if they're not getting what they're putting their hard-earned money onto. So go in with smaller engagements with people, particularly on the analytics side, and even on the paid marketing side, or anybody who's doing performance marketing for you, they will tell you, right?
Do it on
um,
the pay for it on an as needed basis, just like you said as
yes,
a plumber. You
yes.
should it shouldn't be something unless they're managing a full thing. And look, Cody was so on it. Nope,
Yeah, she was.
100% perfect. I've met him through Mark Borst. Mark introduced us in the past in my past emails. I knew it. The chair, book stand, I remember it all.
Oh wow. Yes, I remember having a chat with Cody as well, and I hope she's doing well. She's one of those very intelligent and like multifaceted people. So hope
Well,
she's doing well.
she used to own the dog business, and she'll tell me in a moment here that I've said that wrong. Yes, you're very visual. And then she does tran look, I'm gonna jack this up. I jack it up here. I used to call it transcendental dancing, and then that was wrong, and then it's transcendance, and then she tells me I say it wrong that way also. But nonetheless, Cody's been on here. Cody's normally my go-to when I'm like things are crashing in a show, or I have like an absolutely whack job guest. I'm sending Cody messages like, I'm sending you the link. You have to come on now. And she's always like, I have no makeup and my hair is not done. I'm in PJs. Like, I don't care. We're doing this. Uh See, now I life coach and do trans and dance. See, and and she just hooked. I don't understand. Like, so she just did an elephant hookup in Africa.
Wow.
She got like two elephants, like speed dating for elephants. I guess the best way to look at it. She got them hooked up. So, but so back to this for a second. So if I'm hearing you right, take your time. Don't overpay for it. Get them as you need it. When What would you say then is the point for somebody where you would say this is where, like, I knew for me, because I run regular Google ads, I'm constantly like, that's a regular thing for me. And I'm very involved with my Google ads. I even just realized the other day, I was like, God, it's been about 4 days since I looked at my Google ads. I'm like, I'm way out of whack. I need to get back into it. Um, but where would you say somebody should kind of pause and go, this is your trigger point, that maybe somebody to manage your analytics and your ads and all these different elements, this is where your trigger point should be?
Such a good question. There's different times, but as you're just starting to feel um, traction in your business, okay? So you gotta, yes, she does try to bail you out. As soon as you feel traction in your business, that is, you're starting to make more than you're spending, you should start to focus on saying, well, why am I making money? Where are my customers coming from? What should I do to get more of them now? Because now I'm not treading water. I'm actually making some money. And so there are scaling points where you should start to in, invest first of all in educating yourself. Okay, because that's the best possible thing.
Hugely.
Yeah. I just had somebody talk to me today, and I told them, look, you've been doing this for 10, 12 years. You just need to change into GA4. You used to use the older one. Why don't we just have conversations, half an hour conversations? Let's start with that. You
Real
will quickly burn up, you know? So, first of all, learn yourself as much as you can. Then look for people like, if you're going into Google Ads, you will find in your network a Google Ads expert. Engage them for a while. Try to manage your own ads as much as you can, but you will not be able to do massive scale.
Yeah.
But small amounts you should try. Because otherwise, then, Sean, you don't have perspective.
Right.
How do you know? How do you know that you need to hire an expert if you don't know anything about it? You should know something about it, not necessarily like, oh, I need to have these negative keywords and so on. No, 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 but some idea, right? Always have, like, you have some idea about every parts of your business. You
Right.
know how you're paying for your shipping, which, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
So same thing with analytics and anything data. Know a little bit of it so that somebody, when they explain it to you, you get it, because that's where it is. You have to make decisions based on the information you have. And if you understand that information, your decisions will become better by definition.
And
Does
Cody
that
said,
answer anything?
no, that's perfect. She said she's part of a BNI group now. I love to do. You guys want to come be my guest and share about what you do? We can do that. We can definitely. But if we did that, Cody, then you have to come to Albany Executive Associates (AXA), which is the one I'm part of. So we'll have to. We can swap out. But look, folks, if you're looking to see what Ateeq's got going on, you want to know what Cody's got going on. Cody will drop her link here in a moment. But if you want to know what Ateeq's got going on, what he's got happening, you can always find him at albanyanalytics.com. It's just like it sounds. It's no crazy spelling. It's no off the wall different, like, hey, he changed like analytics with an X in it or something weird like that. But you can check out what he's got going on, see what he has happening. You can also reach out to him if maybe you need somebody who does what he does, or you need to figure out, like, is it time to move forward with that? Reach out to him and you can see what's going on. As I always say, if you found me through him or him through me, make sure you're giving this a like, share, follow, all those kind of things. Next week's guest, though, let's talk about that for a moment. We have, her name is, what is Lena's last name? It's not Horn. Lena Morgan. Let me read this real quick. Lena Morgan is a she has one of those elusive skills, making an incredible difference where she has mastered that. It's a quick and easy thing. She's created a new framework called Fight Language that makes it easy for everyone to fight better. Your audience, she wants to know if the audience wants to learn about fight language. It's transitioning conflicts to spark connections. So, it's kind of talking to people where instead of like, hey, I'm just going to yell back and forth, it's how do I break that down into a better conversation so we can understand each other's feelings, understand each other better, and instead of just yelling and screaming at each other, be able to break this down into a much more usable situation. Look at this. See, Cody's trying to hang out with both of us, Ateeq. And that's what I love about the show. This is somebody that you were connected with in the past, that you probably lost that connection, didn't think much about it, and now here you are on the show, and now you're reconnected. I love this.
Exactly.
Everything about it.
Indeed.
Now, Ateeq, I know you have mastered and completely absorbed 289 episodes of the Above the Bar podcast. You have sucked it all in. You are fully immersed. You've got all the merch and everything associated with this. And as you know, I'm going to say this because I have to say this all the time now. Don't off on me right after. We got to talk for a moment after the show. But the guest always gets the final word. So what is our final word tonight, Ateeq?
Analyze, but don't get stuck with analytics. Understand your customers with the data and without. Reach out to them. Always the best course of action.
Alrighty, folks, be sure to push it. This has been a Second Front podcast presentation found on Apple, Spotify, and wherever podcasts can be found.